Hello again, everybody. Rich Doctor here, looking at the markets, and I'm currently looking at the intra-week activity, talking about last week's activity, and taking a look at the dollar index futures. As you know, dollar index followed by the yen, Swiss franc, and the Canadian. These are all on a 4-hour chart. Euro, pound, Australian dollar, and essentially what I'm looking at is last week's trading range versus this week's trading range. And as you can see here, the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the dollar index. So take a look at the dollar and compare it to what we saw in the other markets. You can see here that the dollar index basically was selling off last week, and it did try to make its way down below the previous week's trading range, right here about 79.37. What's interesting here is that it went down, broke down below last week's low, and then rallied off of the low here at 79.20 to finish right around 79.43. The interesting thing here is that when you go take a look at the daily charts, you're going to see that the market basically ran into some major important levels, and we'll talk about that in the premium video. But for everybody, you can see here that the euro broke out of last week's high here. This provided a pretty decent setup. You can see the breakout here, the retracement, nice little retracement, and then breakout again with the climb up to 30.75 before finishing right around 30.23. So you break out at 130 even. You got a nice 75 pip run off of that, and that set up very nicely in the face of the dollar index breaking down below the previous session low. You got the pound here did try to break down below last week's low, and you can see here that it did not fully cooperate with you. It didn't want to stay down below the previous week's low, so in fact this probably turned out to be a losing trade. You can see here that the pound dollar looked like it tried to make its way up above the 161, and then obviously trying to push up above 162, but did not work its way back up to the previous week's high. You can see here that we did find a support right around the 160 half area, and essentially this was working its way in the opposite direction of the euro, which is kind of interesting because we expected the market to come back up and then get rejected at the previous week's low, but this is a failing trade, whereas over here in the euro this was a winning trade. What was interesting here though is that this is a non-confirmation here between these two markets, so we had to really either stay on our toes or just stay out of the market altogether. You can see here that the Australian dollar though proved to be a very nice trade. 103.26 was the breakout area, and that pushed you all the way down to 101.54. Turned out to be a fantastic winner here, pushing down off of the breakdown and then having a nice little reaction, not able to make its way all the way back up to the previous week's low here for a retest, but you can see here the flag, the bearish flag, once it broke down 102.50, set up for a pretty decent 100 pip run back to the downside. Japanese yen here broke above last week's high, so you can see here is a breakout point, and then rallied off of this level. 78.20 was the breakout area, and it ran all the way to 78.80. That was about 60 pips. It's a little tough here to hold on to this because you're only running 60 pips in a matter of a couple of days, so the Japanese yen proved to be a pretty tough hold there. You got the Swiss franc here, which actually looked pretty decent. Looked like we broke down and then came back to retest the previous week's low, finishing off the low at 92.80 before running back up to 92.96. Again, same kind of thing as the Japanese yen. Not really much movement after the breakout. And then on the flip side, you see the Canadian dollar try to break out above last week's high before failing, and then actually pushing all the way down towards the last week's low. So 97.55 was the push. You can see here just 100 points off of the previous week's high. But in fact, this is basically just retracing the whole entire move from the previous week, finding support at trying to break down below the previous week's low, finding support, and then rallying back up into the close. But you can see the same kind of situation that happened in the Canadian dollar actually happened in the dollar index futures, which is kind of interesting because the markets were not in complete alignment, and therefore if you were not careful, you probably got yourself into trouble. So you got to be on alert here going into October. I think things are going to be really interesting, and we'll continue to monitor the markets very closely for you, and we'll keep you up to date. So that's all I got for this market wrap, folks. This is Wish Doctor signing off. I hope it helps. Good luck in your trading. Stay safe out there. Best regards to all, and we'll see you at the next market wrap. While I got you here, I wanted to take a quick moment to say that if you really liked what you're looking at here in the free Forex market wrap video, I wanted to give you the opportunity to come take a look at the premium weekly Forex market wrap video that I do every week. And basically it's a little bit more in depth, or should I say a lot more in depth information about the markets that I cover. And you can see here that in this short video I go over the basics about what I've been looking at on the major currencies. In the more in-depth market wrap video, I take a look at a in-depth analysis on the 6 major currency pairs. You also get actionable trading scenarios. The important thing here is that we're offering a 3-day risk-free trial, so you don't have to pay a cent. It's about a 30 to 45 minute video that'll go through all the major currency pairs that I look at, and it shows you a lot more in-depth analysis and forecast, looking at the longer term picture and the big major trends that are affecting what you're looking at on the lower time frames that you're looking at on a day-to-day basis. So take a moment to go take a look at the premium market wrap video. You can see the link here provided, www.traderstouch.com/3day, and it also includes a free membership to the Traders Learning Network, where you can meet other traders that are like-minded individuals, and they're basically there to help everybody looking at the same markets as you. So good luck, hope it helps, and look forward to seeing you on the inside.